This is Teemo, League's shroom sabotaging, toxic trolling, blinding little bitch, who just so happens to be one of my least favorite champions. Like everyone else, I hate playing against him. But somehow, I hate playing as him even more. I think I'm dead. Yeah. What a crazy start. What the hell? There's just something about his kit, his looks, his laugh that just drives me insane. But since he recently got a fresh coat of paint with his ASU, I figured now would be the perfect time to suffer through 100 games of Teemo in a row, to see if mastering this little guy could make me change my mind or further solidify my Teemo hatred. Yes. So, if you want to see a grown man get completely mentally broken by a sentient hamster with a blow dart multiple times, then this is the video for you, as we find out if playing Teemo is going to be more of a hell for me or for my opponents. The beginning of this challenge right from game 1 was a complete roller coaster ride, both in terms of my KDA and my mental health. Every match would either go like this.
Come here, Buck!
Oh, fuck. Or like this.
You triggered my trap card!
Okay, get over it. I'm sorry.
You're dead. Yeah, you're dead, son. Okay, we're starting much better now. Let's fucking go. Ugh. It felt like there was never an in-between. All of my initial games on this little guy were so feast or famine. And I think a lot of that came down to inexperience on Teemo and ranged top laners in general. But, you see, I went into this challenge completely blind in terms of Teemo's runes, items, and playstyle. Of course, I knew what Teemo's abilities were. It wasn't my first time playing the champion or anything, but my knowledge on the pick was very limited. I wanted the first few games in this challenge to be a real organic learning experience, which was definitely a mistake in hindsight, and why, naturally, my first few games were all over the place. That being said, though, there was a common theme amongst my first block of matches. The wins were determined a lot by luck, and my losses an exposing of my Teemo inexperience. Occasionally, I'd get lucky and stumble my way into a bunch of kills in the early game, or match up against someone who didn't really know how to punish a terribly out-of-position Teemo. Okay, first solo kill. Woo! Got him. Nice. Hell yeah. That was a good flash. But most of the time, my clear blind spots on the champion were punished by my opponents who had a much better idea of how to play against this Yordle, especially in the laning phase. What were those blind spots, you ask? Well, when I play my usual main in the top lane, Garen, I have a lot of get-out-of-jail free cards. Insane amounts of healing on my passive, free tankiness and 75% tenacity on my W, slow cleanses on my Q, you name it. I have so many ways for me to mitigate damage and recover from a mistaken lane. On Teemo, though? No fucking chance. All these mistakes that I used to never get punished for when playing Garen were coming back to bite me in the ass on a ranged top laner. Misposition anywhere, get one shot. Get ganked because you didn't ward or track the jungler, you're dead. Take a poor trade with your lane opponent, get completely zoned off the wave with no way to recover. And of course, locking in Teemo, pay an instant Teemo tax by getting 3-man dove under tower at 8 minutes. All of these mistakes, which I thought were pretty minor when playing a melee champion, were catastrophic when playing Teemo, and led to my laning scorelines being quite ugly quite often.
My eyes!
To give you an idea of how dire things were for me, in games 17 through 29 of this challenge, I lost lane in 11 out of 13 of those games, and had a combined score of 9, 31, and 8 at the 15-minute mark. So, yeah, things were not going well for me, and I was constantly playing from behind. A situation you basically never want to be in on Teemo. I tried everything over these games to get out of this slump, from different rune pages to going more tanky. Nothing was working for me on Teemo. And to put more salt in the wound, in what was supposed to be game 30 of this challenge, Teemo got picked against me in draft. I get Teemo taken.
My heart and sword, always for Demacia.
And I lost. The same fucking hamster that I thought was useless and getting me nowhere straight up beat me on my best champion. I was completely mentally boomed after that match. Yep. And Teemo had officially broken me only 30 games into this challenge. Just get me out. I'm done. I am done. All right, that's it for today. I'm so fucking over it. Oh my god. All right, I'll see you guys next time. After what was an embarrassing reality check during the first part of this challenge, I knew things needed to change. There was no way I was going to queue up for another game of Teemo without doing some research first. So I took a whole day off of playing Teemo and instead spent my time studying this Yordle like I was cramming for a fucking final exam.
Here we go!
I focused that studying into 3 specific areas. First off, runes and build. I no longer just followed what was recommended to me without thinking about it. I chose my runes and build with intention. Into melee matchups, I went press the attack at Nashor's Tooth so I could get a lot more autos in while maxing my E. And then into ranged matchups, or what I thought were counters, I went Airy with Malignant's first item, while maxing Q. This allowed me to poke with my Blinding Dart and Shrooms instead of worrying about landing a lot of auto attacks in lane. This made my early game so much easier right off the bat, and helped me survive and even thrive in those tough lane matchups. Oh my god, get fucked, dude. Get absolutely fucked. Second, shrooms. I learned about some of the fundamental rules on how to shroom on Teemo. Like, for example, placing shrooms next to walls or corners, and using them to set up an objective by forcing the enemy team to walk through your makeshift minefield before a fight. This led to my shrooms getting me kills in lane.
Bro, please, bro. Why you...
Got him! Helping my team win important fights.
Here we go!
Oh! Thank God! Go! 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 Oh. And even 100-0ing enemy junglers.
But what the hell, boy?
This Vi's gonna fucking die. She's gonna fucking die. This Vi died! Third, Teemo's passive. I made much better use of a passive that I thought was really underwhelming at the beginning of this challenge. I realized that by stealthing at the right time and in the right places, you could really waste your opponent's time or completely turn the tides of a game. Teemo! Hello! Hello, everybody! How are you doing? Now, this one-day cramming session, I'm not gonna lie, completely changed this challenge for me. Instead of having nothing to work with, like in the first 29 games, I now had a baseline, a foundation, something that I could at least build my skill set from while working on this champion. And because of that, my results dramatically improved. No lies here, I went from a 40% win rate in my first 29 games to a 60% win rate in my next 31. And I felt so relieved getting some more wins under my belt. You could say that this little hot streak may have even started to shift my opinions towards this Bandle Scout. Now, this result was great and all, an awesome comeback, but I effectively spent the first 60 games of this challenge breaking even, as I was now back in Gold 3, the same rank I started at. It's not like I was solo carrying all my games either. There were still plenty of times where things did not go to plan, and I was more of a hindrance than a help on my team. I knew that just staying in low gold wasn't good enough. I needed to continue honing my skills on Teemo to push further up the ladder. This had to only be the beginning of what was bound to be a legendary bounce back. And to ensure that, I brought in a literal Teemo legend to coach me through the second half of this challenge. During that study session, which brought me such good results, most of my information came from one main source, and his name is Manco. This guy is a multi-role, multi-season challenger Teemo legend.
Hey, we did it!
If there was ever someone to learn Teemo from and help me climb in this challenge, it's this guy. His YouTube channel was an absolute goldmine of information, so I reached out to him and asked if he would coach me live on his stream. Luckily for me, he said yes, and he gave me an educational crash course on Teemo in front of his audience, covering everything from my ruins, builds, and gameplay. One of the main things Manco noticed when studying my work, you could say, up to this point, was that I was a very situational player. I'd change my runes, build, and play style depending on my team and matchups. Now, this is definitely the correct thing to do when you're more experienced on a champion, but in my case, it did more harm than good, because I didn't have the expertise to choose what strategy was best to use in each situation on Teemo. So to help with this, Manco and I developed one singular plan I could master over my last 40-ish games in this challenge to help me climb more consistently. For that consistency, Manco and I cut the tactical nuke shroom style of build out of my repertoire, and instead focused on one rune page build and strategy. I'd go PTA for my rune page, then for my build, I'd rush tier 2 boots, then go Gnasher's Tooth, followed up by Shadow Flame, Leandry's, or Malignance, depending on the enemy team comp, and finally finish things off with Rabadons and Void Staff. This particular build and strategy was designed to help me split push and more consistently solo carry games. So my new focus every game was to be in the side lane split pushing, securing that sweet gold that comes from tier 2 towers. No more grouping with my team, shrooming objectives, and coin flipping fights. He told me that unless absolutely necessary, try not to group until those tier 2s are gone and the gold is in your inventory. Then in the late game, when you're full of gold and much stronger, group up and melt opponents in team fights. That's 3 Nexus kills in a row? Okay. We just win, I guess, from now on. I don't know what else to say. This strategy was definitely different from what I was doing before, and going to require some discipline to stick to. But I was immediately rewarded in Game 61, my first game after the coaching session, for giving it a go. Alright, Manco. You gave me a plan, you gave me a checklist, time to execute on it.
So every game you load in, and you should have a game plan level 1, right? So your level 1 game plan, because you want to be actively thinking. League of Legends is a very active game. Your level 1 game plan is, hey, what is the enemy top laner, and then what is the enemy jungler, and how do I play accordingly?
Know my game plan. Against Jace, he's definitely stronger than I am level 1 because he has multiple forms, so I'm probably going to chill early. They have Udyr, we have Lilia, we have a farming jungler. They've got a great ganking jungler. I'm going to want to let him push the wave in so I can't get gonked. So that's the plan.
We're back top lane, right? We can't hold this wave, so you're just chilling, which is all good. But again, look at the different universe. Like, imagine if you based on time, you could freeze this.
Yeah.
And now if you freeze this, now you might be able to threaten a kill. You have Ignite. You could threaten a kill.
Okay, good. We're holding the freeze. This is great. Okay, this is perfect. We have the freeze.
The wave management is pretty simple. Push the wave equals plates, right? Equals pressure. Freeze the wave equals kill pressure.
Okay, now I know there's bot side, so I should be able to get a plate here. Okay, nice. Game plan. We have a fucking game plan. Let's fucking go.
14 minutes, no longer have to go top lane. So this game, right, you look at the map. You're not going to go bottom, your team's bottom. So now you go mid or top lane. Going top is the right call, but we need to always think it through.
Yeah.
So Vex is top lane. We can assume she kills Caitlyn. We needed to go mid lane instead.
Okay.
So you can see the macro here because, you know, you don't play for kills, you play for that macro. You know, you don't play for kills, you play for that macro.
Okay, we gotta go.
14 minutes, no longer have to go top lane. So we needed to go mid lane instead. Again, it's a lot harder to judge a good fight versus judging a good push. Where top lane, you don't have to fight. It's up to you. Top lane decides whether or not you get to fight.
Guys. Anyone coming? Guys? Guys? Attention, anyone? Team? Anyone want to come stop their Nexus from getting taken, or what? Guys? I'm just gonna win the game. Guys? Guys? What the fuck? Edit editor, keep that entire end in. I want them to see that no one came. Manco is a fucking prophet. Are you kidding me? They just fucking didn't stop me. They just let me waltz into their base and take their Nexus. Strategy seems kind of broken, guys. What the fuck? Okay, yeah, I guess sitting in side lanes is pretty broken on Teemo. And in many more games over this 20-game stint, this strategy worked like a charm. I'd get through the laning phase ahead, thanks to some solo kills or tricky 1v2s. Push those side lanes in during the mid-game, grab that sweet tier 2 tower gold I talked about earlier, and then show up to a big late-game team fight dripped out in a death cap.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
However, this strategy didn't work for me every single game. Let me explain why. Oh! You see, constantly pushing in the side lane works really well on Teemo when you are ahead after the laning phase, but can be pretty damn hard when you or your team falls behind. Don't get me wrong, your split push on Teemo is good, but it's not the best, meaning it can still take you a while to get those towers down. And if a BV top laner shows up to stop you, especially if they have more gold than you, it can be pretty damn hard to 1v1 them in the mid game. So you really want to be ahead of your opponents when split pushing on Teemo, as it becomes a lot harder to apply meaningful pressure in the side lane when behind on this guy. But to get ahead, of course, you have to win lane. And that was by no means an easy task for me. It was during this time that I began to realize my old tactical nuke shroom Teemo playstyle fit me so well because it covered up a lot of my weaknesses on the champion, especially in lane. I focused more on that Qmax poke style of lane phase, which allowed me to stay much further back, avoiding any spacing problems, and grouping up for team fights with my shrooms made it so that I didn't have to worry about getting picked off in the side lane, because I never fucking went to the side lane. Going for press the attack Nashor's Tooth Emax every game forced me to play out of my comfort zone, make a lot more mistakes, and fall behind a lot more often. Fuck Nasus, man. Fuck Nasus. He's such a fucking annoying champion. I hate him. When I fell behind during some games on my new plan, I'd get discouraged, lose confidence, and fall back on old habits of team fighting when split pushing was the better play. I was having a hard time adjusting to this really high risk, high reward style of Teemo, and couldn't stay disciplined to it. This was clearly reflected in my results as well. In the 11 games where I won lane and stuck to the plan, I performed really well and helped my team get the win. Whereas in the 10 games where I fell behind and went back to old habits, I was very much a liability in the loss. What I needed to do was figure out how to overcome my inconsistencies and lack of discipline, so that I could master this new solo carry style and be a consistent contributor to my team. What the fuck was that? Why do I feel like I went even today? It was literally now or never. I decided to spend one more day dedicated to filling in all my Teemo gaps before heading into the final 19 games of this challenge. Manco and I hopped on another call so we could chat about some of the current issues I was having with our game plan, and after a couple of VOD reviews, Manco was quick to discover what was wrong. Number one, as I already mentioned, was my lack of discipline. No matter what was happening or how bad the game was going, I needed to have the discipline to stick to our game plan and not get discouraged. Okay, my game's over. Number two, to help with that discipline, I had to take more risk. Remember what I was saying? This style of Teemo is a lot more risk and a lot more reward. A common mistake of mine was that I wasn't used to taking risks. I would back off of split pushes too early, fearing that I would die, and instead group with my team, usually providing nothing to a team fight. Manco made it clear that taking a risk to push, especially when behind, is totally fine. Best case scenario, I get a tower and a shit ton of gold. Worst case scenario, I die and get the wave pushed in. Yep, I'm just dead. I misplayed. I don't know what I was doing. If I'm already down from the laning phase, I have to try and risk it to get back in the game. Does it really matter if I die one more time when I'm 2-6? I had to remember to go for the reward. And speaking of laning phase, number 3 was to work on building my laning mechanics to get more leads consistently. To do this, Manco asked me to watch some VODs of a challenger Teemo top laner, Tai G. Thankfully, Taiji has a YouTube channel where he posts a bunch of VODs, linked in the description, and I learned so much from watching these that I could apply to my own laning phase. Some of the highlights were his wave management and how he was able to completely starve some of his opponents out of lane, his positioning and how he always stood on an angle from his opponent to create space while also being able to harass, and lastly, his use of Teemo's passive with constant S-King so that he could have his attack speed bonus active as often as possible. After what I thought was an insanely productive day of learning, I felt like I had all I needed to push through and make my mark on this champion. I had a solid game plan, higher risk tolerance, and a new understanding of the laning phase with two of the best Teemo players in the world at my back. So I hopped into game 82, ready to turn the page, and completely fucking griefed it. Externally, I tried to keep my morale high as I was playing the game, but internally, I remember I was a mess. How could I go 0-7 after spending all this time playing and learning, with the backing of two challenger-level Teemo mains? In the exact same matchup, I literally just VOD reviewed with Manco. I have to say, was the beginning of the end of this challenge for me mentally. I lost the motivation to continue learning and growing, convincing myself that at this point, I just needed to get through these games, roll the dice, and hope for the best. I just felt so defeated having such a rough game after putting all that effort in. I felt like I somehow hadn't gone anywhere on this champion over 2 whole weeks of learning. And over games 83 to 99, my mental completely fell apart. These were some pretty damn rough games of League for me. When I watched these games back for this video, I actually cringed at how easily I gave up or just lost my mind when something went wrong. GG. I can't play. You can hear it in my voice in a lot of these clips that the blow dart hamster had done it yet again. He completely fucking broke me. At one point, I just started taking it out on the champion, saying how bad he was, when in actuality, there were so many things I could have done and should have done differently to change the outcome of this challenge. Holy fuck. This lane is big. First off, I needed to remember that I was teaching myself a whole new way to play League of Legends. This new risk versus reward style. It wasn't going to come to me right away. I had to take it slow, review all my games, and see what was going well for me and what needed improvement in this new style. I canceled my auto. Once again. Micro misplays, man. They're getting me every time. I had to remind myself that I was trying something very much out of my comfort zone. Then I could have worked on my micro, my macro, and actually seen Manco and I's game plan come to fruition. I truly wish I did this and hadn't gotten flustered so easily. I could have provided a much happier ending to this Teemo journey, but unfortunately, I didn't this time around. This is something I'm certainly going to learn from going forward in this challenge and improve on in the next champion that I tackle. I do not want my poor mentality to stop me from mastering a champion again. On more of a positive note though, not every game was a total dud. For example, in games 90 and 96, I actually played quite well, following through on my game plan. In game 90, I was able to secure both side lane tier 2 towers, translate that into some big item spikes, and get some huge teamfight wins at Dragon, Soul, and Baron. In game 96, I used my new wave management skills from watching Taiji to put Nasus in an XP and farm disadvantage right off the rip, eventually turning that lead into a solo kill. It was games like these that proved Manco's strategy was working. I just wasn't able to execute it this time around because I wasn't experienced enough in it. Also, I still did improve immensely on this champion. Comparing game 1 of this challenge to game 100 would be night and day in terms of my champion mastery. I think I just need a bit more time getting used to this risk and reward style of League, and a bit more optimism to really get the most out of this guy.
Never give up!
Speaking of game 100 though, by the time I finally got there, I had 49 wins and 50 losses, with the chance to at least tie it up with Teemo in the final frame. I knew I had to give it my all in this last bout on the Bandle Scout, and I promised myself I'd end off with a performance I could be proud of. Yeah, good roam. Great fucking roam. Cal Surprise. Yet another kindred who has no idea what the fuck they're doing. Gotcha! What are you doing? Yeah, she's dead at least. They're both dead fucking dead to me. I'm so strong. No ulti on Kale. Yes, team! Go! I think I'm gonna kill him. Yep. They stole Baron. How did they steal Baron? That's fine, it's finished. Thankfully, I don't think they can actually end on this Elder. Yeah, I don't think they can end on it. Are you kidding me? What the fuck? You are so fucking bad, Kindred. We lost that game. This Lissandra and Kindred had no idea what they were doing. Ugh. That's like so fucking sad, that loss. Ugh. Oh well. Demoted. Oh my god, man. I really did give this game my all, but in an almost fitting summary to this challenge, the little devil did me dirty. I thought that maybe after 100 games on Teemo, my opinion of him being one of my least favorite champions would change, but unfortunately, this challenge only solidified that belief for me. As much fun as Teemo can be when you pilot him well, his kit and playstyle calls for a lot of risk and very little room for error. And in my case, those risks and errors usually got the better of me as I was learning over these 100 games. Something tells me, though, I'm not going to be able to live with this being the end of my Teemo story, and one day I'll have to put some more games on him and see if I can improve. Maybe then I can exact my Teemo revenge. I ended these 100 games with a very annoying 49 wins and 51 losses, or a 49% win percentage. I also didn't climb at all, and now am back in Gold 4, which confirms that most of the time, playing Teemo was more of a hell for me, and not my opponents. At least I wasn't stuck at a 40% win rate anymore though, so that's a W, I guess. I actually wanted to do all of you watching and Manco proud so bad that I went back online the next day to see if I could pull off some crazy redemption arc after game 100. Alright, my hair's crazy. One more day of Teemo. Let's fucking go. But I instantly went 1-10, lost the game, and then had Teemo banned on me in the next lobby. Ugh. This is just the universe telling me they're like, stop. A pretty clear sign from the
It's
Riot
enough.
gods that my time on Teemo was better left in the past.